Picking up a katana, the Ronin continued his lonely walk along the shore, the wind whipping his black hair. His name was Kenji, and he was a samurai without a master. After the demise of his clan at the hands of rival warlords, he'd sworn to dedicate his life to the pursuit of inner peace, and what better place to find it than in the legendary mountains of China. But when he arrived at the foot of the mountain, he found a large group of heavily armed soldiers waiting for him. "Who are you?" one of them shouted. "I seek the Crane School," replied Kenji. "It is said that its warriors can defeat any opponent with only a handful of correct moves. I wish to learn these moves." The soldiers eyed him suspiciously. "You want to see Master Li? Is he not here?" "He is, but you cannot see him. You must first show us your skills." The soldiers surrounded Kenji, unsheathing their swords. "Then show me yours." As they charged, Kenji effortlessly sliced through them all, impressing even himself with how precise and powerful his movements were. But as soon as he sheathed his sword, the soldiers drew their bows. Luckily, Kenji had anticipated this and deflected their arrows with his katana. Then, using one of the soldiers' own arrows, he shot another soldier clean through his shoulder. "You're very skilled," one of the soldiers said, lowering his weapon. "Why don't you come with us and be Master Li's student?" Relieved that the tension had eased, Kenji agreed. Inside the monastery, Master Li was sitting on a stone platform meditating. Surrounding him were dozens of warriors, each more disciplined and focused than the last. Together, they formed the Crane School, an ancient order dedicated to preserving the traditional arts of China. "They say you defeated 20 of my students with ease," Master Li said to Kenji. "Is this true?" "It was nothing like that," Kenji protested. "You have great skill, samurai," Master Li said, nodding in acknowledgement. "But here we do not rely on brute strength. Our power comes from harmony with nature. We fight only when we must, and always with respect for our opponent." Kenji found himself training harder than he ever had in his life. The warriors of the Crane School moved with such speed and precision that he could barely follow them. But slowly he began to grasp their philosophy, learning how to channel his spirit, his ki, through fluid motions that seemed almost hypnotic. Yet despite his growing mastery, he still felt a deep sadness within him. One evening, as Kenji sat alone in the forest, a beautiful young woman named Lin appeared before him. She was one of the Crane School's most promising students, known throughout the land for her stunning beauty and graceful fighting style. She'd heard about Kenji and wanted to see if the rumors of his skill were true. Impressed by his talent, she invited him to spar. And as they fought, Kenji found himself opening up, both to her and to the possibility of happiness in his life again. But their training was interrupted by a sudden attack. A large army led by a ruthless warlord named Zhao had descended upon the mountain, intent on destroying the Crane School. Kenji and the other students fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. As Zhao's soldiers broke through their ranks, Kenji realized that the only way to stop him was to confront him one-on-one. With heavy steps, Kenji walked towards Zhao, his katana glinting in the firelight. "Who are you?" Zhao shouted over the din of battle. "I am the one who will bring you and your army to its end," Kenji replied, his voice ringing with newfound confidence. Zhao laughed. "Do you really think you can defeat me? You are just a single samurai." "We'll see," Kenji said, and lunged. The two warriors fought fiercely, their blades flashing like lightning. But as the battle raged, Kenji began to tire. Zhao was stronger than anyone he'd ever faced, and his soldiers were almost upon them. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, Kenji remembered the lessons of the Crane School. He closed his eyes, focusing his ki, then struck with all the force of a mountain torrent. The move was so powerful that Zhao staggered backward, losing his balance. Seizing his chance, Kenji disarmed him and held his katana to his throat. "You lose," Kenji said, his voice echoing with authority. Zhao looked into Kenji's eyes and saw not only a warrior, but a true master. With a final nod, he sheathed his sword. And so, the threat to the Crane School was over. As the wounded were attended to and the prisoners taken care of, Kenji stood with the other students, watching the sun rise over the mountains. Beside him, Lin smiled, knowing that the samurai had finally found the peace he'd been seeking. The two exchanged a knowing glance, understanding that their destinies, like the rising sun, were now intertwined forever.